This is the image that they dropped for Star Trek Picard. The Los Angeles freeway system. Now, it has been reported that some of Star Trek Picard takes place in the 21st century. That there is a, once again, we're going to go back in time because, oh, lo and behold, some shenanigans are occurring. We don't know why. We don't know what. But the preview dropped today. I just want you to take a look at this image. Now, I understand, oh, I see the new alternate universe. Oh, we'll get to that in a minute. Star Trek logo is, you see this in the, I get it. That's Star Trek, the Delta Shield, the chevron, whatever you want to call it, the insignia. Actually, I call it the Enterprise insignia because I don't care what anyone says. That was the fun of Star Trek. Each ship had its own insignia. I know there were exceptions to that rule, but that was only for production issues because things they were too expensive. But I don't care what anyone says. I do believe that they meant whenever they showed you new crew members, they would have a different insignia. So this is actually the insignia of, in fact, the Enterprise, obviously. So this is the poster we get in 2021 to promote a 2022 show. In 1986, we got this poster. The poster for Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home, painted by the incomparable Bob Peak. Again, we see a California city, San Francisco, obviously where Starfleet Command will later reside. Then, of course, we see Bob Peak's rendition of all of our characters. We see a blood-red sun setting, and, of course, a Klingon bird of prey over the Golden Gate Bridge. And one of the great taglines or ad lines or copy lines of any movie ever, which was, how on earth can they save the future? I don't know who came up with that. Genius. This promises adventure. This says Star Trek to me. This is something that I have this poster. I have this original one sheet. It's 35 years old. Mine's in pretty mint condition. One day I should get it framed. But I always loved this image because Bob Peak, while he painted the poster for the motion picture, they did not use his key art in the domestic theatrical campaign for either Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, or Star Trek III, The Search for Spock. And if you look up the original domestic theatrical campaigns for Star Trek II and Star Trek III, the posters, the key art, this is called key art, they used were terrible. And they finally went back to his artwork for Star Trek IV, V. No, he didn't do 6. But this is a poster for a Star Trek show. This is, I don't know what this is supposed to be, but already this is tongue-in-cheek. And this image certainly doesn't match the teaser. I don't know what this is selling to me. Is Picard going to be driving the freeways of 21st century Los Angeles? And if so, how exciting could that be? I don't really know yet because I haven't seen it. Now, I hate when people start ripping on things that they haven't seen. But I would say in this case, we have 3 seasons of Discovery and 1 season of Star Trek Picard. And I would dare say the 1 season of Star Trek Picard was, in my mind, let's call it one of my least favorite seasons of science fiction television ever. To say I didn't like it is putting it mildly. However, because it's Star Trek, because it's my lifelong love, favorite franchise, whenever there's something Star Trek coming out that's new, I try and muster up something, you know, I try and get excited about it. But after 4 seasons of what I would dare say is, let's call it, well, some of the worst televised science fiction ever written, I find myself, it's hard for me to get any enthusiasm up for this. And one of the things that I don't understand, I guess, is that when you take things like Q and the Borg, these things were atypical Star Trek. You know, what kept Star Trek going throughout the decades was what I would like to call the meat and potatoes Star Trek. Q episodes, Borg episodes, those were atypical. They were fun, but they're fun because they're surrounded by all of these, when I say meat and potatoes, the meat and potatoes Star Trek episodes where you'd go to a planet, The planet would have some kind of interesting problem that mirrored our own society. Our stalwart characters would get involved with that problem and perhaps solve that problem. That's what Star Trek was all about. And then when they would do something like, oh, go to the mirror universe, it wouldn't be something that would happen all the time. These were things that worked as well as they did because we had most of Star Trek to go by first. Picard has been a show of well, let's have the Borg, let's have Romulan nuns, let's do all of these things. We take all of these Star Trek, well, let's not call them cliches, let's call them tropes. And that's all they're giving us. What we're not getting from Star Trek anymore is what Star Trek was originally started, what it was founded to be, which is an allegorical show about humanity moving out into the cosmos. And in what we found out there, we would impart to the audience wise pearls, lessons to know. It was allegorical and it was interesting. Star Trek now, for whatever reason, the movies, the shows, it's all tropes. There's no new ground being forged here. They aren't even offering up allegories anymore, which is fundamentally not what Star Trek is. And I just don't understand why this is the direction they continually take Star Trek. It's a weird trope nostalgia trip all the time. Star Trek is a perfect vehicle by which to examine the life of someone like Jean-Luc Picard later in life. What does it mean when someone who led such a life of adventure and mattered so much to the galaxy, what happens when that person is sort of sidelined and marginalized? There could have been a really interesting character study. I'm not saying that I don't want action and adventure, but the action and adventure we're getting is some of the most dumbed-down, cliched science fiction concepts that I can possibly imagine. And it's incredibly frustrating to watch a show that was lauded for being as smart as it was, and to watch things that are, well, let's say, not up to par. And watching the second season of Picard, it's, again, oh, broken timeline, check. Oh, let's bring back Q, check. Oh, 7 of 9. Well, she's no longer a Borg anymore. She's, because of the broken timeline, maybe Annika never got assimilated. Check. Let's put everything back to normal. I can't imagine a more uncreative or unexciting way to take the second season of Picard. I really don't understand it. I mean, I guess is that what Star Trek is? It's the same 10 recycled tropes over and over and over again? Or, my God, in First Contact we had time travel and we had the Borg, which, by the way, I've been told that's what we have here too. And it's like, really? Really? Of all the great science fiction that's been written in the 20th century and 21st century, you keep revisiting the same wells. We had a feature film about the Borg. We had multiple feature films about time travel, going back into the past. Voyager went back to California. Now Picard's going to go back to California. I mean, I look at this stuff and I think, of all the possibilities, this is the best you can come up with? Where is Star Trek? Where is the trailblazing show that boldly went where no televised science fiction ever went before? Where is it? All we've seen is the same tropes, villains. Oh, there's bad guys. I mean, first of all, there were never really bad guys in Star Trek. As I've said before, there were antagonists, but not really villains. That was kind of the whole point of the show. And yet, we had 3 Star Trek films with basically kind of villains. Oh, there's bad guys. Let's stop the bad guys from blowing shit up. For 3 movies. And then basically that's kind of all we've been getting. Well, there's more bad guys, and let's blow them up. Where is the thoughtful science fiction in modern Star Trek? We haven't had any since 2005, since the last season of Enterprise. I mean, go back, even if you don't like Star Trek Enterprise, watch the 3-parter about Vulcan, starting with The Forge. Watch that. Watch United, the 3-part series about, or I think it was 3 parts, about getting the Federation together. I mean, the Star Trek that we're getting now is so far removed from the ethos of what it is. I don't understand it. And I don't understand why Paramount allows this to continue. I don't understand. I really don't get it. Now, to be fair, there is one thing that gives me pause that I won't write off Star Trek entirely this time. And I will tune in to Picard just to see. I mean, who am I kidding? I have to at least to bitch about it, right? Well, Terry Matalas, who is the showrunner on this show, from what I understand. I mean, I don't know how beholden he is. Thank God Akiva Goldsman's gone over to fuck up Strange New Worlds. So maybe with Terry Matalas coming in. Now, Terry Matalas was Brandon Braga's assistant working on Enterprise. He was on the production staff of Terra Nova. He worked on Brandon's show Threshold. He was a story editor on Nikita. And he worked on Star Trek Voyager. But he developed 12 Monkeys, which was the TV remake of the movie, which I liked. I thought it was, he created that show. Finally, he was flying on his own. He moved outside. I think he saw, I'd like to believe that he saw what works and what doesn't work. 12 Monkeys certainly was a step in the right direction, and I appreciated the work that he did on it. So I'm hoping that based on that experience, he didn't learn the worst lessons from Brandon Braga, which is, and I like Brandon very much, but Star Trek trope after Star Trek trope after Star Trek trope. I mean, we're getting a second season of Picard, and we're getting time travel in Q. Why? Why not use Q in a different way? Why? I mean, we had Tapestry, and we had All Good Things. Basically, It's a Wonderful Life with Picard. Oh, the timeline's broken. You've got to go fix it. I mean, here's the thing. I've got news for you. They're going to fix it. They're going to triumph in the end. Are we going to learn anything other than you don't have enough of a show when you go back in time and change the timeline? We don't even know what the timeline really is in Picard. So before you can go fuck around with the timeline, you have to establish the timeline first. That's why an episode like City on the Edge of Forever, which came at the end of the first season of the original series, works because, oh my God, the Federation doesn't exist, even though the Federation hadn't really been introduced yet. The Earth is gone, at least the Earth as we know it. The Enterprise has disappeared. Real stakes. And when Mirror Mirror played in the second season of the original series, it was great because we had spent enough time with all of these characters and the situations to know flipping it on its head made it fun. But bringing in Q and doing all this stuff now, it's like, really? You can't give us a season of trailblazing brand new science fiction. Can anyone do that? Can anyone do that? I mean, I know some people can because you look at the German series Dark. That's some pretty good science fiction. You know, there's been a lot of episodes of Black Mirror which have been pretty interesting. But why is it Star Trek continually goes to a well that is, well, I'm surprised there is any water left in it? Between the Star Trek novels and the shows that we're watching, do you want to hear something really interesting? Of all of the Star Trek that's been made in the last 12 years, do you know the one I'm interested in the most? Prodigy. Prodigy. Because David Mack was a consultant on it. I know some people that are on the writing staff who I like very much. Julie and Shauna Benson. I think they might bring some really interesting science fiction concepts to the fore, even though it's a show made for Nickelodeon and for kids. The fact that they have a Medusan in a exosuit, they have a character, a race that was created in Peter David's New Frontiers series. I mean, that already, you've won me over. So at least there's something in there that might be new and different. Do I think they should make a show for kids? No, I thought Star Trek, the original series, was for kids. But I look at this stuff and I'm like, I'm supposed to get excited that, what, you're going to hit me with the nostalgia from, you know, how many episodes? And really, when you talk about Q, did people love Encounter Farpoint? No, people love Q. But you know what they loved? They loved Tapestry and All Good Things. So, oh, let's go back and do that again. Really? Really? Is that all Star Trek has become? I mean, Star Trek has become its own tropes. And then it's become this idea of what Star Trek, well, Star Trek is this inclusive. You know what? Star Trek is also about telling great stories. And look, maybe Terry Matalas, that's somebody that's the one saving grace. I'm like, all right, 12 Monkeys, you've earned my attention and my respect. You have. I will grant you that, sir. And I will tune in and hope what I'm going to see is good. But there was nothing that I was shown in this teaser trailer. Admittedly, it was only a minute long. But the basic gist of it all, the timeline's broken. Again, this is already old hat in the Star Trek universe. It was old hat in Voyager. They went. How many time travel stories did they tell in Voyager? Hell, even on Enterprise, going back in time, fixing the timeline. It has become, between the Borg and Star Trek time travel, are you kidding me? Please tell a good, I mean, it's too late now because it's already done, whatever. But why is it so difficult to come up with a great science fiction story when there is so much great science fiction out there? I mean, why do you have to go back to Star Trek tropes? Star Trek has become a parody of itself. It's as if no one working on Star Trek, it's like, I've read the 10 more fan favorite episodes of Star Trek. I get it. That's what they're going to do. They're going to go back and give you your fan favorites. But the only reason they were fan favorites is because they had all of this other stuff. They had the meat and potatoes Star Trek episodes, hundreds and hundreds of them. And then you get the 1 or 2 or 3 atypical episodes like a Yesterday's Enterprise, which is, again, another trope. Let's have a different timeline. We can admittedly make everyone looks different than the way they really are, and blah, blah, blah. I mean, God. I mean, really? You know, Star Trek was so exciting because of all the different kinds of stories it told when I was a kid. There really weren't Star Trek tropes. They didn't go time travel all the time in the original Star Trek. They did it in a few episodes. Once the Enterprise was thrown back in time, and Tomorrow is Yesterday. Then they used the light speed breakaway factor, and they went back to Earth of the past for Assignment Earth. But that was a different kind of a story. And then, of course, you had City on the Edge of Forever. And then when they did time travel, it was like people escaping into Sarpedon's past before it exploded. Or Beta and Iobe, pardon me, not Sarpedon. That's a different history. But it's just, I'm like, really? Again? You're just going to repeat the same thing? Anyway, I looked at this and I found it kind of soul-crushing. And I know I could sit here and rant and I could rave all about it and bitch and moan and complain. But I think we all kind of feel it. You know, we all want something new and unique, and we're hoping that maybe somebody will step in and give us brand new, groundbreaking science fiction in the guise of Star Trek. Like, why is that so difficult? I mean, is it? I would hope it wouldn't be. But apparently it is. And it's very frustrating. And it makes me sad.